In today's video, we have 7 men, a dodgy inflatable boat, and over half a ton of coke. What could possibly go wrong? Their plan looked bold enough to make them millionaires, but in reality, it was destined to unravel faster than you can say customs check. The real question is, how did this grand smuggling scheme collapse so spectacularly? This is Curios&Spiritual. We take a look at the case, the police investigation, and trial. In the summer of 2024, a criminal network of 7 men, Stephen Lawler, Daniel Bowen, Stephen Locke, Reece Stanley, Kieran Farrell, Sean Feenan, and Thomas Walker, orchestrated an ambitious plan to smuggle large quantities of coke into the UK. Their scheme involved deploying a rigid hull, inflatable boat to transfer illicit cargo from a container ship at sea. No small task, the main being evading detection by authorities. The operation was bold and highly organised and financed. On the morning of the 8th of July 2024, police received a report of suspicious activity involving an inflatable boat and a van near a block of flats on the River Itchen in Southampton. Police tactical units in Southampton observed the suspicious activity, a rigid hull inflatable boat manoeuvring near the coast and a van acting that seemed to be connected with it. Police tactical units followed. The van was intercepted, driven by Reece Stanley. Inside, officers found approximately 150 kilograms of cocaine. Additional quantities were subsequently discovered aboard the boat. The total haul seized during the operation amounted to 600 kilograms of cocaine, with an estimated street value of between £44 million and £64 million. Each member of the gang had a distinct role in the enterprise. Some were directly responsible for bringing in the import, coordinating with contacts on the container ship, executing the transfer to the dinghy, and arranging the inland transport. Others handled the logistics of distribution once the drugs had been reached ashore. For example, Stanley was directly driving the van used to move the coke. The gang united by one common goal, which was spectacularly failing at smuggling. Their plan wasn't small time either. Using a rigid hull inflatable boat to collect from a cargo ship is something you expect in GTA 5. Unfortunately, these guys brought the acting skills of GTA 5 and the tactical awareness of a goldfish. Kieran Farrell also had additional charges. Not only was he implicated in the import conspiracy, but he was also convicted of driving while disqualified. But let's be honest, this wasn't even a clever way of moving drugs. A rigid hull inflatable boat is about as subtle as a jet ski in a library. They might as well have strapped cocaine delivery service banners to the side of it and blasted an air horn as they came ashore. The whole scheme screamed, "Please catch us, we're bloody terrible at this." The gang's geographic footprint spanned multiple regions. Some defendants were based in Solihull: Lawler, Bowen, Farrell, Stanley. Others in Birmingham, Locke, while Walker had ties to Gwynedd, and Feenan was of no fixed abode. This dispersion suggests a network that operated across counties, or legal term, jurisdictions, likely to complicate detection and enforcement efforts. This was not a run-of-the-mill street-level trafficking gang. The scale, coordination, and use of maritime smuggling techniques indicate a high level of the ladder. Their strategy relied on swift, covert transfer from ship to shore, minimising time in the most vulnerable phase of the transit. They also counted on sea routes' relative anonymity to reduce the risk of interception. However, even maritime smuggling is vulnerable to detection, especially when joined with suspicious land movements, such as the van. What makes it even more shocking is how ambitious they were. They weren't dabbling in a few kilos here and there. They jumped straight into half a ton. That's like skipping swimming lessons and diving into the deep end with ankle weights on. Smaller time smugglers usually cut their teeth moving tester amount, but these lads seem to think they mastered the game after watching a couple of episodes of Narcos. So to sum up, 7 men, a dodgy dinghy, a van full of coke, and a level incompetence that also makes you feel sorry for them. Well, almost. Altogether, they seized over 600 kilograms, worth between £44 million and £64 million. Or put it another way, enough to keep Britain's noses running until the next general election. The moment the van was stopped and the drugs were found, the South East Regional Organised Crime Unit and Hampshire Police got to work. First up, the mountain of evidence, practically gift wrapped for them. Over half a tonne of coke seized. A rigid hull inflatable boat bobbing around like an inflatable tubeman. And a van driver who looked guilty enough to star in an episode of Crime Watch. But investigators didn't stop there. They cracked open Reece Stanley's phone. Always a downfall of modern criminals. Do you remember when criminals used to use burner phones and coded language? Yeah? Well, not these guys. Their digital fingerprints linked them straight to each other, to the plot. It was less criminal conspiracy and more group chat gone wrong. The cops pieced together movements, phone records and surveillance footage. The boat's journey was tracked, the van suspicious, late night tour of Southampton was logged. The men's communications looked like a conspiracy book written in crayon. But the time investigators were done, they had a perfect jigsaw puzzle. Every man in his place, every move accounted for, every excuse laughably thin. The key to the case wasn't the drugs, but proven intent. After all, you can't exactly say, "Oh officer, I thought it was 600 kilos of flour." With mobile phone data, surveillance, and evidence from the inflatable boat and van, proving conspiracy was a walk in the park, or in this case, a sail in a dinghy. Behind the scenes, police work wasn't just clever detective work, it was patience. They had to track financial records, sift through hundreds of text messages, and probably endure listening to these guys' calls, which no doubt made the officers wonder how such a dim planning could exist outside a comedy sketch. When you're calling each other about meeting up by the docks with coded terms like the stuff, you're not exactly fooling Scotland Yard. And then there was the logistics. Forensic teams had to test the Class A, catalogue evidence, and build watertight case files. Surveillance officers had to follow suspects without being spotted, which probably wasn't difficult since the gang weren't exactly looking over their shoulders. This was less cat and mouse and more cat and rock. The mouse just sat there, waiting to be eaten. The case against the 7 men was presented at Winchester Crown Court, with sentencing occurring on Friday the 12th of September 2025. All the defendants admitted to the relevant charges. They pleaded guilty to conspiracy to import coke, and for some, conspiracy to supply as well. Their guilty pleas streamlined the trial, reducing the need for protracted contested hearings on every element. During sentencing, the court considers the severity of the offence and the amount of Class A involved, the level of planning and sophistication, the roles of the individuals and mitigating or aggravating factors. The sheer quantity over 600 kilograms placed the case among the more serious import conspiracies in recent years. The value of the Class A was estimates of £44 to £64 million, underlying the scale and the profit motive. Because the men admitted wrongdoing, the court had given them credit for guilty pleas, reducing their sentences compared to if they had put the Crown to full proof. Nonetheless, the sentences remained severe. Combined, the group was given over 92 years in prison. Stephen Lawler, aged 39 years old from Solihull, was sentenced to 16 years and 6 months imprisonment. Daniel Bowen, 41 years old of Solihull, received 15 years. Stephen Locke, 42 years old of Birmingham, was given 13 years and 6 months. Kieran Farrell, 30 years old of Solihull, got 12 years plus an additional 4 months for driving while disqualified, served concurrently. He was also disqualified for driving for 7 years. Reece Stanley, 30 years old from Solihull, was sentenced to 10 years and 8 months. Sean Feenan, 43 years old of no fixed abode, received 10 years and 2 months. Thomas Walker, 33 years old of Gwynedd, was sentenced to 14 years and 3 months. The court recognised defendants showed little regard for the harm caused by Class A, both to individuals and to communities. The judge weighed the need for deterrence, retribution, and protection of the public heavily. In delivering the sentences, the court and the investigating officer made strong statements about the destructive impact of high-volume drug importation, emphasising that such organised criminal enterprises would be pursued vigorously. The sentence lengths reflect the gravity of the offence, the high value of the drugs, the coordination across land and sea, and the need to deter others from similar schemes. There's one massive question: who financed it? Because someone did. These guys won't be the last either, persuaded by a money man that they have nothing to lose. But the trouble is, you do. Life behind bars won't exactly be glamorous either. For one, it's boring as, noisy, and it leaves you with plenty of time to think, what the hell was I doing? And the what ifs. Those who say they don't are lying or have short sentences. So to wrap up, 7 men dreamed of millions, planned like amateurs, got caught like rookies, and were sentenced like pros. A cautionary tale, or at least a reminder: if you're going to do crime, maybe don't do it in a dinghy under police surveillance.